Did Trump unveil the mark of the beast system at the most recent UN meeting? Because a lot of people think so. It's very interesting, actually, when you listen to the speech. And I'm going to share it with you in a minute. We're going to look at we're going to listen to this. But we've got a lot of news to talk about today, folks. We've got 6G, the implementation of 6G. You thought 5G sucked. Well, wait till 6G unveils. But also, we're going to look at these new programmable artificial intelligent viruses that were created. Oh, yeah. A little bit spooky, right? And the latest reactions with Trump on a global with speeches and the discussions that he has been having. So buckle up, Buttercup. And also in California, look up SB 771. It's SB 771, Personal Rights, Liability, Social Media Platforms. Oh, yeah. You think free speech is do you enjoy free speech? Well, I mean, that's obviously controversial, but wait until you read about the latest legislative information, SB 771. So let's talk about it. The first thing I wanted to do is I'm going to pull up the speech that Trump gave at the UN meeting the other day. And I hope you're having a beautiful day today. Really nice out here in Southern Colorado. But last I checked, it's full. So if you're thinking about moving out here, I don't know if there's anything available. Just saying. So anyway, this is from the Watchtowers. I'm just joking. Trump announces an AI verification system at the United Nations. This verification is merely the opening act for the mark. And when it arrives, choices won't be on the table, according to the Watchtowers. That's what they put in here. There will be only one. So let's take a look at this real quick. Let me know if you can hear this okay. Can you hear it okay? No sound. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Maybe I can do a different type of share screen, and then I can share the sound with you because I want you to hear this. Let's see. I know what I'll do. Here we go. Let's start over. I have a feeling this is not going to work. But we'll do a try. Here we go. Can you hear it? He just said there, by verifying an AI. Let's go back. Here we go. The top leaders of the world, by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also go and be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever. But there also can be dangers. It can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. So I hope that was okay. Yeah, let me give you the link right now. Let me give you the link. I'll put the link in the video description box, also in the comment section here. So I just sent that. And he essentially said that top leaders are unveiling a new AI system that's going to be implemented. And he even says there's dangers. He says it could be one of the great things that ever happened, but there are dangers potentially. And so this is interesting because I just watched a very good video from Business Insider last night on these data centers that are popping up all over the nation. And there's projections that by, I think, 2028 or 2030, these data centers could be using approximately 10 to 13% of the nation's energy grid. So all of the energy, add it all up, and about 13% of that, according to some projections, is going to be used just for these data centers. And not just energy, but also water. And they're putting these data centers in places that they're putting these data centers in places like Phoenix, as an example, and in the desert. And they need mass amounts of water and mass amounts of electricity. Now, there are some data centers that are saying that they're not using water, but they still have to use energy, and they still have to keep them cool. These data centers also make this really weird sound. So in Virginia is like the epicenter for these data centers. I was listening to these interviews that the news reporters were, they're talking to the locals out there that live in these really nice houses. You've got a little bit of forest behind the houses, and then these huge data centers that looks like something out of Blade Runner. Have you seen the film Blade Runner? Yeah, they might be onto something there. And the Blade Runner 2047, look at the atmosphere and the environment and these massive farms that are ran by synthetic beings that are created for specific jobs. And so if you've watched Blade Runner, you know the purpose of Blade Runner. But anyway, these data centers make these sounds that are like, and in the summertime, it's more of a, and it's a really low vibration. And this one guy that was interviewed, he put $20,000 into extra protection on the windows and the siding, and he could still hear it. He could still feel it. He took his whole family into the basement to try and sleep because it just messes with his natural. So your body produces a natural harmonic, a natural energy. It has a specific vibration. And, a lot of people say that they get sick around certain electromagnetic frequencies, as an example. One time I did an interview underneath some high voltage power wires. I was a little bit to the side, but I was still kind of underneath it. And it was about a 45-minute interview. It was the only place I could get reception because I was on the road and I had an interview to do. I'm in the middle of where was I? In the middle of New Mexico somewhere. I was heading out to California and I had to pull over. And the only place I could get a signal was close to these huge power lines. These power lines are like massive voltage. And so within 15 minutes, I was already getting agitated. I was starting to feel a headache. My stomach, my body was feeling a little bit different. I was feeling more like aggressive and just kind of angry. And by the end of that interview, I felt like crap. I drove for several more hours, got to the hotel, and just fell asleep. I felt like I was dealing with a hangover. It sucked. You can definitely feel, at least I can, the energies from certain technologies. Now, cell phone towers and routers emit different frequencies. Your Wi-Fi, your smart meter, they all emit different frequencies. But the amount of voltage that I was exposed to when I did that interview was pretty substantial. So I can't imagine being in an environment where I'm constantly bombarded by these massive data centers that are sending out these not only sounds that you can hear, but also the vibration that you can feel. Like if you've ever seen the experiments with somatics where certain sounds create certain patterns, and then the resonation, if you look up what resonation is and how things kind of resonate together, well, you're now changing the equilibrium of the human body when you're exposed to these frequencies and to these massive data centers. And these data centers are huge. They're humongous, and they're building them like crazy right now. And not only that, imagine how much information these data centers have on everything. So when you give artificial intelligence the keys, and then you give the keys of that artificial intelligence to certain people that control the algorithms, how close are we to a beast system? Now, my definition of a beast system referenced in the biblical texts like Revelation. I've been studying the biblical text now for years, and Revelation I've studied probably more than any other scripture. And it seems like a rule, it seems like a playbook to me, because it's a cyclical scripture. It's not just one specific timeline. You can take Revelation and say these things happened 2,000 years ago. You can link the churches and the ideas and the archetypes, and you can also link it to times that have been taking place since at least 2017 and more recent times, like when I think it was Revelation 13, the certain signs in the heavens, aka the stars and the planets and the constellations. You can completely totally link to certain scriptures in Revelation. So whoever wrote Revelation knew about the movements of the stars and the planets, and also knew about eclipses. The most recent eclipse that we had, the Great American Eclipse that took place, where it finished off an X pattern right over Texas, close to where Elon Musk's newest facilities are with SpaceX. X marks the spot. All these weird connections somehow, whether it's on purpose or there's something behind the scenes, like whether Elon Musk knew about this great eclipse that was going to happen and create an X over Texas, so he decided to build SpaceX headquarters close to there. I don't necessarily think that's it, but there's a lot of weird parallels, and I think it deals with quantum entanglement somehow. The quantum entanglement would explain how a lot of times people pick up somehow psychically or energetically these events that take place. It gets put into films, it gets put into TV shows, then these events happen in the future. There's obviously other reasons for that as well, I would say, in my opinion. But when we look at Revelation, it talks about the beast system and the mark of the beast. No man can buy or sell without the mark. The mark of the beast is the number 6 threefold, 666. And then the patent that gets released right around 2019, 2020, the WO World Organization 060606A1 patent. Let's take a look at that. Let's go over to that real quick. So here we go. Now that 6G is being implemented and unveiled and rolled out, 6G is 6th generation of communication. 6G is substantially different than 5G. If you were concerned about 5G, well, so anyway, cryptocurrency system using body activity data. The human body activity associated with a task provided to a user may be used in a mining process of a cryptocurrency system. A server may provide a task to a device of the user, which is communicatively coupled to the server. A sensor communicatively coupled to or comprised in the device of the user may sense body activity of the user. Body activity data may be generated based on the sensed body activity of the user. The cryptocurrency system communicatively coupled to the device of the user may verify if the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system and award cryptocurrency to the user whose body activity data is verified. This is a patent from Microsoft. Now, it could be wireless, it could be wired. It leaves that open. It doesn't say specifically if this is going to be a wireless implant. But when you read about it and it describes how the human body activity, let's look at the PDF here. Let's jump on over to the PDF. So here's the user, here's the sensor into the user device. That could also potentially be implanted into the user, or if you've got a wearable, it's very easy for a wearable like a smartwatch or a smartphone or a lot of these smart devices to pick up body data, such as, you know, your heartbeat, your temperature, and there are potentially other technologies within these devices that can pick up your brain waves. And they're getting pretty close to disclosing how certain technologies can read your mind literally. And they're beta testing them with people that have disabilities. And I think that that's wonderful to help people with disabilities. However, if this gets implemented into the everyday life of everybody on the planet with these massive data centers and these technologies that track everything everybody does, how intrusive will it become? Will it get to the point where they're reading your mind and they'll have some type of thought police? Oh, well, he didn't do anything yet, but it's like Minority Report. We need to have preventative maintenance. Let's stop that person from even getting close to doing something that we wouldn't want them to because they're thinking about it. Well, they could just cut your money. They could cut your digital currency. If this was implemented on a national scale, where there's technology that can pick up the user body activity, such as where you're going, how long it'll track everything you do. They have technology right now that can track your movements with your router. Who's in the house, where you're going, what you're doing. Matter of fact, let's take a look at that. Let's jump on over to that right now. Boom. Is your printer informing on you to the police or thought police? Wi-Fi sensing lets you monitor motion in your home without cameras or motion sensors. We weigh the pros and cons of this increasingly popular technology. Well, the pros is you could sell all that data to marketing companies and to intelligence agencies, and then they could use that data however they wanted to, basically. What are the cons? Well, if you don't want everything you do being tracked 24/7 and then uploaded into these massive data centers that are built behind people's homes that they're raising their families, well, that's one of the cons. But, that we need data centers, right? That's what was very interesting about the interviews that were being done by these people that literally couldn't sleep because of these huge data centers behind them. They made a point to have every one of those people that they interviewed say something like, well, I do think we need data centers, and I do think we need this technology, and I think it's a good thing. Anyway, so it's like, if you're going to build data centers that are going to send out frequencies and signals and a low hum through entire neighborhoods, and then you're going to take a ton of water that farmers are using to cool these servers, and then they said that there's only a lot of these huge servers that are gigantic, that are taking exuberant amounts of energy and water. They're only employing like 100 people or 125 people, sometimes max. So they get all these tax breaks. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, where are we going to be at in 10 years, in 20 years with the implementation of these technologies that track everybody, track their thoughts potentially? All that information gets uploaded in these massive data centers. And then there's a few people behind these data centers that have access to the algorithms. I mean, we are building humanity's replacement at this rate because they won't need 125 people to operate these servers in 10 years and these massive data farms. They can use robotics and artificial intelligence and computer systems to deal with it all, practically. And then they say, well, we're going to give you a universal income. And people are like, oh, that's great. I'm not going to have to work. Artificial intelligence is going to do everything for me. I'm going to get paid to sit on my ass. But then there's other people that are like, well, wait a second. How much money are we talking about here? Are we just going to get enough to survive? Or are we going to get a lot of money? You're going to get a lot of money. Oh, you're going to get so much money. Everybody's going to be super wealthy. And we're going to have robots that deal with everything. This sounds so much like the ancient Sumerian stories, the ancient Babylonian stories, the ancient stories of Greece and other places around the world. These cultures around the world talking about how the gods made humans to do the work for them, and they were eventually replaced. And then the workers started questioning things a little too much. Started realizing, hey, look at how many of us there are compared to how many of them. And they're just relaxing anyway. They're just living life out on their lawn chairs while we're doing all the hard work. We're doing all the mining. We're building their farms. We're building their societies. We're not going to do that anymore. So then what happens? Humanity rebels, and then there's a flood, and then there's, so stories. We're talking about a lot of stories, which does seem there's a lot of geological evidence to a lot of these cataclysms. Now, the exact cause of these cataclysms is up for debate. But if you know about future events that are going to unfold, based upon the stars and the planets and how cultures work and how societies rise and fall. And if this information was given to you, and if you gave this information to your family and you're passing this on for generations, and your family has built these incredible empires on the planet and helped create society as we know it after these cataclysms, survived through these cataclysms because they knew that they were coming, it would be it makes a lot more sense when you read through, at least for me anyway, it makes a lot more sense how this is unfolding. And it's frightening and it's fascinating because I've been seeing this take place since I was a little kid. And I've been predicting this since I was a little kid. And I don't know how I knew about this kind of stuff because it's not like my parents were telling me about it. They're super, super calm and collected, worked really hard, middle class, and they weren't putting religious dogma into my mind or fear or like conspiracies or anything like that. Very salt of the earth people. They're wonderful people. But somehow I seem to always know about this. It's like just seem to be embedded in my DNA. I see something happen with technology and then my mind picks up what's going to take place 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, etc. And if you go back and you look at the predictions that we've been making on Leak Project and that I've been making personally, go back to 2010, you can see a lot of stuff that I was blogging about 15 years ago has been publicly unfolding and becoming more mainstream. What was looked at as a conspiracy 15 years ago is looked at as normal now. And so we're in a position right now where if we continue to allow the system to build itself completely autonomous and we let these giant conglomerates build these artificial intelligence systems, it parallels past catastrophes from a global scale, from a spiritual scale. And this is my opinion, because we're already losing as a society a lot of abilities that we had just 20 years ago, like directions. Think about that. How many people now need their GPS or their Google Maps to get them across the street or get them to a restaurant downtown? Whereas before, we were traveling cross country with maps. We were looking for the signs, not waiting for a ping. Turn right, turn left. How many phone numbers did you used to know? How many phone numbers do you have memorized now? My point is, now artificial intelligence, you gotta love it, gotta love technology, but where's that balance? When data servers and data farms are using a quarter of our water supply as a civilization, a quarter of our energy as a civilization, that's going to change the spectrum that's going to change people's mindset. Remember, it used to be, global warming. We got to worry about global warming. They ain't complaining about global warming anymore, are they? They're talking about building more data centers, building more nuclear facilities. I think Microsoft just signed some contracts to get 3 Mile Island up and running again after it had its partial meltdown. I think it's 79. So many people were exposed to radiation from 3 Mile Island. And publicly, you didn't know about it until after. So nuclear power is one hell of a way to boil water and to produce energy. Is it very efficient? Yeah, but it can also be very detrimental and very costly to do the cleanup. So with Wi-Fi technologies and 6G technologies and these political shifts and industrial shifts into artificial intelligence, how far are we willing to go? How much is humanity willing to give up for artificial intelligence and big giant tech corporations? Because there will be a lot of money to be made, but most people aren't going to be making that kind of money. It's going to be for the very select few, the very super rich. From what I see in the future, yeah, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be able to piggyback off of it. But the real money, the real power, the real control, and the ultimate goal, what I see is a future where there's not nearly as many people and there's a lot more robots. It's amazing how certain global leaders or people that are very high up in the echelon say there's too many people. There's too many people, but we need more human robots or humanoid robots. Kind of puts things into perspective. Now, this is interesting. Very interesting. I learned about artificial intelligence. Let me repeat that. I learned about DNA storage back around 2012, right around there, because there was certain projects going on where they would take DNA and they could store more memory in DNA than any of the hard drives available. And over the past 13 or so years, that technology has just continued to increase. They're using DNA hard drives now. There was a DNA cassette that recently came out that can, just one DNA cassette that can store all the songs ever produced and then some. The amount of storage in DNA is insane. But they also did experiments where they were able to put computer viruses into DNA, which I thought was frightening and fascinating. Well, now you can read about world's first AI design viruses, and that is a step towards AI generated life. You can read about it at nature.com. World's first AI designed viruses, a step towards AI generated life. Scientists used artificial intelligence to write coherent viral genomes, using them to synthesize bacteriophages capable of killing resistant strains of bacteria. Now, bacteriophage is a very interesting concept because that stuff is sprayed on a lot of cold cuts and a lot of cold cut meats, and tweaking viruses and then spraying them on deli meat to get rid of the E. coli. Like, look at this, bacteriophage, cold cuts, deli meats. Bacteriophages are viruses sprayed on deli meats and cold cuts to eliminate harmful bacteria, primarily Listeria monocytogenes. These bacteria eaters are safe because they specifically target and destroy bacterial cells, not human or plant cells. The viruses are naturally occurring and do not alter the meat's flavor or appearance, and they act as a biological control to enhance food safety by preventing illness and listeriosis. There you go. Don't those just look like something out of the, I don't know. Anyway, so now they're boasting AI designed viruses. And if you're just joining us, this is the meeting that Trump, it's the UN meeting that Trump basically unveils this artificial intelligence system that they want to use for verification. And he says it could be one of the great things. Then he goes on to say it could also be dangerous. But you can trust us. Well, maybe. But what about in the future? And what about the potential for everybody's information stored on these data farms, while these data farms are consuming a quarter of the energy civilization produces and a quarter of the water, fresh water, drinking water? What if? And then these big contracts get settled for robotics and androids. Well, don't worry, because you're going to have universal income. You're going to have high universal income. So just let them do all the work. We'll put you in a pod. We're going to put you in a pod, and we're going to give you this paste. It's paste that's going to go back and fill your body up with the nutrients it needs. It's like a vitamin paste that's created from your own stem cells, basically, in this pod, so that you can stay alive in the pod and live out this virtual reality world where you can do basically whatever you want in this virtual reality world, but you're in a pod. And the machine gives you the nutrients you need to stay alive, and then all that information gets uploaded into the cloud. So even though you're in this digital pod, or you're in this physical pod in a digital reality, all that information is getting uploaded to the data farms. And then in 20 years, potentially, I mean, this is live action role play here, entertainment purposes only. 20 years, those neighborhoods that have data farms behind them, all the people move out, they get bulldozed, and then the rest of that turns into data farms. So we're going to have data farms, we're going to have robots, and we're going to have pod people in the very near future. But this, Trump says, we're announcing today that we're going to lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role. It will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it can be dangerous, but it can be put in a tremendous use and tremendous good. And this will be an example of that. Oh, am I doing I didn't even realize that. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. It's a 6. Oh my gosh, a 666. That's okay. I'm not Illuminati. I'm not a part of a secret society, because I share my information with you here at Leak Project. But that's very interesting. So we've got artificial intelligence viruses. We've got DNA that can store viruses and also store more information than any hard drives. We've got data centers that are popping up all over the nation. I think there's about 1,200 data centers that we know about right now. Some of these data centers are over 1 million square feet in size. They're towering over neighborhoods. They're sending out creepy sounds and energy that's like, you know what that sound kind of reminds me of? A lot of people that I've interviewed that talk about their experiences with something that's non-human, where they get abducted and they don't know if it's like physical or spiritual or what. It's also very similar to, if you've ever had an out-of-body experience, before you pop out of your body, you will feel this like whoa, 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 and your body will, like, you feel like you're shaking, but you're not, or like there's a cat at the end of your bed and it's, like scratching itself or something like that, but it's not. It's your body getting ready to separate with your consciousness before an out-of-body experience. That's kind of what it sounds like. It's a very low vibrating sound, and it's also something that you can feel, and these people can feel it. So it's all going hand in hand. It's all going hand in hand. And you know what else is interesting? Trump is now saying Ukraine can win back all the territory that was lost to Russia. Read about that, Reuters. And then Trump criticizes the UN for failing to end wars and address immigration concerns. Yahoo. Also, The Hill. Trump, NATO countries should shoot down Russian planes if they enter airspace. Interesting. Yesterday, hot off the press yesterday, the Gateway pundit, Secret Service dismantles illicit telecom threat in New York City before General Assembly, where Trump will speak. Could have blacked out cell service and jammed 911 calls in New York City. SIM cards tied to foreign governments. Okay. And then this is recent. At this time, truckloads of anti-scale fencing are being delivered to the White House in Washington, D.C. Such fencing is typically used during periods of civil unrest or heightened national security concerns. No official explanation has yet been provided for its sudden deployment. And this is Raw Alerts, photo by Penguin 6. This is the California Legislative Information website. Personal rights, liability, social media platforms, SB 771. Well, if you are a bit concerned about freedom of expression and freedom of speech and social media posts being used against you, I can understand. I can absolutely understand. And look at this. This was passed in the Senate. It was passed in the Assembly, amended in the Assembly. So it is actually passed the Senate September 11th. It was enrolled September 16th. It was introduced by Senator Stern, co-authors, Assembly members Bryan, Harabidian, Calra, Lowenthal, Ortega, Pellerin, Stefani, and Zieber. Well, let's scroll down here. Look at this. Title 23. As used in this title, social media platform means a social media platform is defined in section 22675 of the Business and professions code that generates more than $100 million per year in gross revenue. So then it goes on to say that for intentional, knowing, or willful violation of this bill, a civil penalty of up to $1 million. $1 million. So now they're going to threaten social media platforms with suing them for lots and lots of money if certain information is allowed on their social media platform that would be considered against, like, SB 771, personal rights, liability, social media platforms. I want to get a lawyer that knows this and can like share with us the bullet points of this, like just a quick excerpt or abstract, because it sounds like if you are considered doing something that is against this personal rights, liability, social media platform bill, then that social media platform could get fined $1 million. And some people think it's going to deal with a major blow to freedom of speech. So, and that's obviously California, because they love you so much. But this is in also, even though Jimmy Kimmel is going to be back on TV after he was let go or suspended. Well, it looks like he's going to be put back on. However, not all affiliates are going to air his work. Sinclair, actually, says, no thanks. You know what? I never thought he was that funny anyway. I think he's just kind of like, I can only handle him for a couple of minutes because he's just rude as hell. And his jokes seem so insincere. Like he's so scripted to me. That's just my opinion. I know there's people out there that probably think he's absolutely hilarious, but I don't think he's very funny personally. So 6G is the future of sixth generation of wireless technology, the successor of 5G, with a projected rollout around 2030. Love that date, 2030. Expected benefits include speeds 100 times faster than 5G, near zero latency, significantly greater capacity, and the integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning. 6G will enable seamless real-time communication and integrate digital, physical, and human worlds, leading to new applications in areas like remote surgery, holographic communication, and smart cities. And in my theory, pod people. We're going to see pods in like 10 years. You wait. It's not going to be robots anymore. It's going to be pods. Well, your robot is going to live its own life now. We would like to offer you a pod where you can do whatever you want in the pod. It's going to be like timeshare people selling these pods. Just wait. So 6G. What is 6G exactly? Well, let's talk about that for a minute. What is 6G? I can share this with you. Let's look at some of the comparisons here. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Stand by. Here we go. All right. 6G. What is 6G exactly? Well, 6G, the sixth generation of wireless technology, is expected to deploy commercially around 2030, and it builds on 5G, aiming to merge physical, digital, and biological worlds. Oh, you mean like the singularity? Oh, you mean like transhumanism? Okay. Ultra-fast, intelligent, and energy-efficient networks. Peak data rates up to 1 terabyte per second. 0.1 millisecond latency. Extreme reliability. Well, let me tell you something. 5G is supposed to make our phones quicker, and a lot of times when my phone says it's 5G, it actually is slower. So I'm definitely going to take that with a grain of salt. Believe it when I see it. Extreme reliability, they say. 7 nines. 9. Massive connectivity, up to 10 to the 6th power of devices. you tell me we can have 10, like 10 million devices hooked up to this thing? Wow. Native integration into the network stack, energy and spectral efficiency, sustainable green communications, 3D coverage of land, air, UAVs, sea, and even space. It's in the terahertz communication. So 4G, a lot of 4G is running around 800 megahertz. And then that's, fourth generation communications. Then we get 5G. What is 5G? The fifth generation of communications, where some of the 5G communications and some of the 5G technologies are running into like the 200 gigabyte range. Or not gigabyte, I'm sorry, 200 gigahertz. So that's 200 billion cycles per second. Megahertz is millions, 1 megahertz would be 1 million cycles per second. There's kilohertz, that's 1,000 cycles per second. So we get to the 4G, we're typically running around 800 megahertz. There is some of the stuff in I think the 2G range, around 2.4, which is very similar to what a microwave is emitting. And what the microwave does to heat food up is it heats up the water molecules. So you kind of want to stay away from that frequency if you can, because that frequency is heating up water molecules and your body is mainly water. So we've got now terahertz technologies from the 100 gigahertz to the 10 terahertz range. That's like 10 trillion cycles per second. Enables ultra high fast rates, ultra high data, ultra dense networks, reflect control signals dynamically to boost coverage, integrated sensing and communication. So it enables devices to sense their environment, which would be very interesting. If you've got 6G communications and you've got technology in your phone or your smartwatch that you're wearing, then it could pick up all sorts of different body data. It's picking up, these sensors that are picking up all sorts of, not just your movement, but possibly your brain waves, potentially decoding what your brain waves are thinking. And then it could sell you something that it feels like, okay, well, this person's thinking about a Porsche. Let's show them a lot of Porsche commercials. Oh, this person wants to take a vacation. Let's show them lots of vacation commercials. Oh, this person's thinking about doing something they shouldn't. Let's imagine how this technology will be able to be used to actually control your way of thought. And then if we've got the WO 060606A1 implementation on a national scale or a global scale, because it is a world patent, world organization, then it could track all the user's body movement, all of their data, their thoughts. It stores all that information, and then it decides, oh, this person's thinking for themselves too much. Oh, this person is questioning what we are feeding them too much. It could actually custom tailor memes and news and advertising and TV shows and marketing that would change your perception, potentially making you docile without even needing to minority report your ass. Hello. It could do it on its own. It could change. It's amazing how many people think so similar now, I've noticed, since nanu, the internet, especially with social media, because people are looking at the same things. And then people are interested in certain subjects are looking at the same news. They're getting the same memes. The future of your brain is meme technology. You've got the meme news or the meme news. I like to call it the meme news, and the mainstream news, the alternative news. And they're all going to be used strategically with algorithms to control how you think and what you think and when you think it and how your response is going to be. It's so easy to control civilizations when they're all looking at the same thing. And then these algorithms have learned, okay, you're going to have, just as an example, target A, which is a specific community. There's people in that community that don't think that think the opposite of what the mainstream media is telling them. So we are going to process information and spit it back at them so that they will actually think the way that we want them to think. They put people on these rabbit holes. I knew exactly what was going to happen with the social media after the Charlie Kirk passing. When I say I knew exactly what was going to happen with social media, let me explain that. I knew that event was going to take over social media, and there were going to be a million different ideas as to what actually happened. And then they're all going to branch off, and you're going to have all these new rabbit holes created. And then people's minds are going to be stuck in this now. They're going to be thinking about this. They're going to be thinking about, oh, it happened from that. Or, I don't want to get into too many details here, but you understand what I'm saying with this generic definition here. It's very, and then you go back and you look at social media. What's everybody posting about? And then there's the conspiracies behind those posts. So it's really easy to control civilizations now when everybody's looking at the same thing. And they already know, if I can see it, if I can see what's going to happen before it happens and after it happens, they can see it. I mean, they've got supercomputers that can calculate so far ahead, so many quadrillions of floating points per second, that they can come up with 1,000 different scenarios per person per second at any given day, approximately. So 6G is vital in this network of integrating mind, body, soul, uploading it all to the cloud. And then in the future, you're going to have cloud farms, you're going to have data farms, and you're going to have robots and AI controlling the data farms. Meanwhile, civilizations are going to be put into these smart cities, and it's going to be more and more machine versus people making the decisions for future civilizations. And it's how much are you willing to give up? How much of your freedom are you willing to give up for artificial intelligence integration? Now, I'm a big fan of AI. I'm a big fan of technology. But I don't want a data center next to my house. And we need to stay balanced. If we let it do everything for us, we're going to turn it into, we're going to become lazier creatures than we already are. We have to find a way that we can balance physical work and physical thought with the machine, with technology, where we're actually improving upon ourselves and building ourselves up. And I just don't see it with these massive, with the way things are going now. There's a very select group that is pulling these strings and that is profiting trillions of dollars. And then you've got the bottom feeders that are making a little bit of money off of it. And then you've got people that just don't care. But anyway, major challenges. We've got terahertz, global harmonization of terahertz and sub-terahertz bands, which need to be implemented for 6G. Networks must be green. AI decisions must be explainable and ethical. And these are the timelines. So 27, 28, standardization of 6G. 29, 2030, initial commercial deployments and mass rollout of 6G. 2030. Check this out. We've got a 6G system. Hold on, I want to pull this up. Here's some papers on 6G. "6G, a more advanced next generation mobile communication system. 6G, the intelligent network of everything." Here's some more papers. "Insect scale miniature robots and microbots." Here's a list of literally micro-sized robots. It's crazy. "Hybrid bio-inspired cyborg insect systems. DARPA high MEMS, robo-bees. Nanobot technologies, robots and devices at the nanoscale, typically used in medical and biochemical contexts." Here's a paper for you. "A brief review on challenges in design and development of nano robots. Nanobots, future and development. Novel microbots, nanobots using stimulus response mechanisms, magnetic, chemical, thermal, light, etc." I mean, wow. It's like Buck Rogers meets Hellraiser. Hello. This is crazy. Imagine nanobot swarms that you couldn't even see. They all link with each other. And then there's really, we are so advanced technologically right now. Are the morals and values linking up to that technology? That's what I ask you. And hey, you know, I'm just sharing the news. So these are my opinions, and I could be way wrong. So I think it's good to pay attention to what's going on and stay as balanced as possible. Yeah, microbots. Yeah, nanobots. Yeah, 6G. Does that mean we can't still do what we want to do? Because like it could be pretty wild. It could be pretty fascinating. We just need to make sure that at the top levels, whoever's controlling these algorithms doesn't go full Darth Vader or like evil emperor. Because Darth Vader even comes around, right? Darth Vader's like, wait a second, what the hell am I doing? I'm under control. I'm under mind control by the evil emperor. Even Darth Vader snaps out of the mind control. And it does kind of seem like we're in Star Wars right now. We're like at the cusp of Star Wars before we start sending out these technologies into space. But I wouldn't be surprised if tens of thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, even here potentially on Earth, there were technologies that allowed us to travel the stars. Whether they were space alien or spacemen or from here, I don't know. But I think that there's a lot of data that we need to continue to look at. And so how do you feel about all this? Like, where's your mind right now with these technologies and the just wild political stuff that's going on? Do you kind of feel like, I know some people think we're in a simulation. Some people think that the Mandela effect is based upon this simulation. Now, I would say there may be properties of a simulation, like if we were to use that as a comparison, but this is definitely more than a simulation, folks. So don't let anybody fool you into thinking that this is just a video game, because it's a lot more than that. We may have parallels to a video game, but like, you know, it's still more. Anyway, so Gods of the Unknown says Chewbacca is Bigfoot. Hey, exactly. Chewbacca is Bigfoot. Yoda is looked at by certain mystery schools and secret society fraternities. There's a entity or a being that they look at that has parallels to Yoda. Iapetus, have you ever seen Iapetus and the Death Star? Check this out. Iapetus and the Death Star. You're going to love this. You've probably seen this, but anyway, it's pretty cool. Here we go. Did a podcast on this about 10 years ago. Boom. So Mimas, right here on the top left, this is Mimas. And Mimas is a moon that orbits Saturn. And notice how it has the exact same location as the Death Star, where that massive laser beam shoots out. Like, do you think that that's a coincidence? And then look at this. This is Iapetus. So Iapetus is one of the moons that orbits the inner rings of Saturn. And you can see it has the exact same location where the central point and the Death Star is, but this is like a 11-mile high ridge that goes around the entire circumference of the moon. You'll notice that up here where the laser shoots out, it's a big hexagon, and the majority of these crater marks are hexagons, and it even has the same blast site as the Death Star in The Empire Strikes Back. Because if you remember The Empire Strikes Back, they're building the Death Star. And then you can see right here to the left, it even has the same blast site. So is that coincidence? Is that quantum psychic connection? Or did at some level, the writers and the producers of Star Wars know about these moons, and they wanted to link them to the Death Star? Very interesting. So It's kind of like we live in Star Wars. May the Force be with you. Oh, yeah. Patreon. Check us out on Patreon, please, because it's awesome. We have a ton of stuff on there that's only on Patreon, and that helps Leak Project. We've got a ton of content that's only on our Patreon page, a lot of long format interviews with guests that have some pretty interesting data that we can talk about on Patreon. But also check us out over on Rumble, totally free. You can subscribe to our Rumble page for free. It'll take you 90 seconds, and we're doing live streams on Rumble. We're doing like 5 a week right now. So please check us out on Rumble. Hit the subscribe there. For whatever reason, a lot of our subscribers here on YouTube don't get the notifications, and I don't know why, but I've been reading a lot of comments like, Rex, I haven't seen you in months. I haven't seen you in years. Where'd you go? And so they were subscribed. And then, so for whatever reason, I don't know, but yeah, hit the subscribe button here on YouTube as well. Hit the bell for all notifications. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. Be excellent to each other, everybody. Thank you.